Tov, Tanya, for the 19th of Sivan, we're starting the 7th chapter of the Shar Yichud Ve'emunah. We'll go right in and then we'll have to give a little background, very quickly. Today's Tanya. Did you listen yet?
No.
Oh, Yalla. I recorded once, yeah.
No.
Tov.
Thank you for
Ooh.
time.
Yeah.
Well,
For facilitating.
it's a bit. I get to stay out of the house for a minute. No.
You say hearing the words of the tzaddik live is better than.
You gotta go search it somewhere else. Uvazeh yuva mash kasad b'zara kadosh the pasuk Shema Yisrael hu yichuda ilah u'v'roch shem k'malchuso l'omvad hu yichuda tata. Very beginning of the Shar Yichud Ve'emunah, it says like it's based on the psukim of Shema. Right? We're not going to get fully into it now. But now, based on what we've learned, we can understand what does the Zohar say when it says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That refers to some higher supernal unity. Leave it at that. And right, Baruch Shem Ved refers to a lower level of unity. There's a higher unity and a lower unity, the Zohar says. Right? So he says now that we've learned something, we can understand a little bit what that is. What do we learn? So a few of the principles we learned in the first 6 chapters, right, are that. How can we do this really quickly? There's a distinction between how a craftsman in this world creates something, right? He crafts a vessel. He builds a box. He builds a cup, right? He can then leave it there and walk away from it, right? When we create in this world, we can set it and create it. The Alter Rebbe explains, based on the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, that that's not how it works with Hashem. Hashem didn't create something and leave it. This world isn't something that He made in the 7 days of creation and step behind. The earlier people believed Hashem created the world, right? They just believed that He created something, and it's there, and He peeks in, He does what He does, but it's something, right? And the Alter Rebbe says, no. He didn't. When you're creating something, the craftsman creates something out of materials that exist. He's reforming something, right? So it's there, he can walk away from it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not reforming anything, he's creating something from nothing. There's a constant, perpetual flow of divine force that's going into everything constantly, right? So yes, he did create the world in the 7 days of creation, but he continues to do so every second. There's a flow, there's a constant, perpetual flow of divine force that's coming into everything. Therefore, right, the fact that we're only here, we're like a projection. We're not something. We're not a true existence. There's a force that's keeping us something from nothing constantly. Therefore, right, if that force would remove itself for even a second, we'd cease to exist. That being said, we don't recognize the force that's perpetually keeping us, right? And you explained, right? There's Havaya, there's divine Chesed, there's this perpetual divine creative flow, right? That's creating everything and flowing with goodness and creation, right? And then there's another force, which is his gvura, right? And it's the opposite. It retains, it constricts, it conceals, right? And these two things, he explains, are one, even though they're total opposites. It's beyond our comprehension. But these two opposite forces are the Shem Havaya, Shem Elokim. This combination of flow and retention allows us to perceive ourselves as if we're in existence, even though we're not a true existence. There's one true existence. There's God, we're just a projection, right? But because of that force that's holding back, we feel like we're something. Now that we know that, right, we can now understand this concept of the unities. Right? Kiva'ed hu echad b'chalufi asvan. He says that in the Shema Yisrael, right, the last word is echad, Baruch Shem Kiva'ed Malchuso, the last word is va'ed. He says they're both echad, they're both concepts of unity, and there's ways to show the letters that va'ed is echad. We don't need to go in. Kihine sibas v'tama tzimtzum v'hester azeh shehister v'halim HaKadosh Baruch Hu es achayus sha'olam kadei she'yiyah holam nera davar nifra b'fnei atzma. What is the reason? Why does he need to create the world in such a way where he's hidden from us? Right? We said he has to hide himself in such a way that we feel like we're our own independent existence. We look around us, there's a table, there's me, there's you. Everything feels like we're our own thing. Right? Why does he need to have a world in such a way that we feel our own existence? Why can't he give a peek of himself in the world? Why do we have to feel independent? What's the reason? What's the system? Why is it that we have to feel like we're an independent existence? Reason being that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the whole purpose of this world, why we don't know. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world wants to reveal himself. He wants the revelation of himself as a king, right? He wants kingship, he wants rulership over the world. De'ein melech below am, and there's no kingship without a nation. Perush am miloshen omamos. What he's going to explain is that the concept of kingship requires for there to be a king, which is this more powerful, grand person, or in this case Hashem. In order to be king, you need something under you. You need rulership over other, right? You need a constituency which is not you. Otherwise, you can't be king. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu's purpose is kingship, he wants to be king over a worlds. Again, why we don't know. He wants to be king, right? He can't be king over that thing that those people that he could only have kingship if there's something other, there's something more dimmed, as he'll explain. Perush am, what does the word am mean? He says malasham omamos, right? The word omamos means dimmed or extinguished, it says here in the translation, right? And he gives it in gecholim omamos, coals that are dimmed, right? A coal, right? A coal, we all know, it doesn't have it's not flaming. It doesn't have the fire. The fire's hidden within it. It looks like an independent, separate thing from the grandness of the flame, right? It's hot, right? But it's very separate from the flame. A coal it's dimmed, it's separate, right? So that's the idea. You need a nation which is dimmed and separate from the great flame. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the great flame. He needs something other than him, right? If it's not other, if it's not separate, if it's not distinct, right? There's no malchus, there's no kingship. Shehem devarim nefrarim v'zarim rechokim ma'alas hamelech. Right, the am, the nation, the dimmed, the extinguished ones, right, the coals. That's us, right. It's all of creation. Needs to be separate. It needs to be distinct. It needs to be distant from the greatness of the flame, from the greatness of the king. Ki'ilu afilu hayu lo banim rabim o lo shayach shem melucha aleihem. We all know this. There's no kingship. You're not a king. We use the expression, but we're not really kings in our own homes. You can't be a king over your kids because your kids are of you, right? If you're the flame, your kids are mini flames, right? They're not separate from you. They're of you. There's no being king of your own kids. There's no being king of family. Kingship is when it's over something different, when it's over something separate, when it's over something distant, right? You're not a king over family, right? There's no kingship over family. V'chein afilu al sarim levadam. Even ministers, right? Ministers who are not the king, right? But the ministers have a lot of contact with the king. There's a closeness with the king. That's not kingship. You're not a king over a bunch of ministers. You're only king over an am. You're only king over something, a constituency that's separate from you. Rak barov am davka hadros melech. The glory of the king is only with the numerousness of the nation, of the separateness. That's this world. V'shem hamor al midas malchus yisvarach hu shem adnus ki hu adon kol haaretz. The name that reflects this concept of the Malchus of Hashem is the Shem Adonai. It's Adnos. The name of God in reference to his kingship, to his rulership over the world, right, which is his divine purpose, is Adnos, is Adonai. V'nimsa kimida zo v'shem zahin hamahavin u'mekaimin ha'olam lios olam kamos shuhu akshav. It's this force of this Adnos, of this Malchus, this desire of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to rule, to be Lord over something that's separate from him. Right? That comes from this name of Adnos that gives life to all the worlds. Yesh gamor v'davar nifra b'vnei atzma v'eino batu b'tzias mamish. It's this force, it's this malchus, it's this Adnos that makes us feel, right, that we're a separate entity from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and at the same time, we don't get totally absorbed into him and nullified in him. If we recognized his presence, if we had a recognition of that divine life force inside of us, we'd cease to be separate. We'd cease to exist, right? We'd be overtaken, right, by this godly force. It has to be hidden from us, and that results in us feeling like we're alone in the world. That there's separateness, that there's distinction in the world. If it wasn't, we'd return back into the word, into the breath of God, which is creating everything. We'd be exposed to it, and it'd be like the light shining in. You'd be just absorbed into it. Ubato sham b'tzias mamish would be totally nullified into that great light. V'lo haya Hashem olam alav klal, we wouldn't be called olam, we wouldn't be called the world. We're going to see olam means time and space, right? But we wouldn't, the concept of time and space and our distinction in this world would cease to exist. Therefore, we need this hiddenness, this separateness, so that we can recognize that we feel like we're our own real existence, which we are not. There's only one true existence, and the whole purpose of this is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be king, right? We need to be separate and find our way to serve him in this hiddenness and concealment.
Beautiful. Shkoyach Gadol.